a struggling human, uncovers a teen alien girl left to die by her siblings. Marcus Chen floated through the maintenance corridor of Orbital Station 7, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor with each tired step. The station hummed quietly around him, a sound he had grown used to over the past 3 years. His shift was almost over and his body ached from 12 hours of checking pipes, fixing broken panels and cleaning air filters. He checked his communicator. 2 more sections to inspect, then he could finally rest. Marcus rubbed his eyes and thought about the messages waiting in his inbox. More bills, more reminders about the money he owed. His wife Sarah had died 2 years ago, but the hospital bills from her treatment still followed him like shadows. The salvage bay was quiet when Marcus entered. Large windows showed the darkness of space beyond, dotted with distant stars. Pieces of old satellites and broken ship parts drifted past the station, waiting to be collected and recycled. It was Marcus's job to monitor this area and report anything unusual. Something caught his eye. A small object tumbled slowly through the debris field, reflecting the station's lights. Marcus moved closer to the window and squinted. It looked different from the usual metal scraps and broken equipment. The shape was smooth, almost organic, and it had a faint blue glow. Marcus activated the external cameras and zoomed in. His breath caught in his throat. It was a pod of some kind, definitely not human-made. Strange symbols covered its surface, and through a small transparent section, he could see movement inside. "No, no, no," Marcus whispered. "This is not my problem." Cracks spread across its surface like spider webs, and the blue glow was fading. Whatever was inside would not survive much longer. Marcus knew the rules. Any alien vessel or object had to be reported immediately to the station commander. A full investigation team would be called. There would be paperwork, interviews, and strict protocols. The process could take weeks. He looked at the pod again. The movement inside had stopped. Marcus made his decision quickly, before his logical mind could stop him. He rushed to the external control panel and activated the retrieval arm. The mechanical limb extended into space, its claws opening wide. Marcus guided it carefully toward the drifting pod, his hands sweating inside his work gloves. The claws closed around the pod gently. Marcus pulled it toward the station's emergency airlock, a small chamber used for collecting dangerous debris. He had never used it for anything alive before. 5 minutes later, Marcus stood in the sealed chamber, staring at the pod on the floor. His heart pounded in his chest. He could still turn back. He could still report this and follow proper procedure. Instead, he knelt down and searched for an opening mechanism. The symbols made no sense to him, but he found a panel that responded to pressure. It hissed and slid open. The smell hit him first, sharp and chemical, like burning metal mixed with flowers. Inside the pod lay a teenage girl or something that looked like one. Her skin had a crystalline quality, pale blue with patterns that seemed to shift in the light. Her hair was white and floated slightly as if underwater. She wore a simple silver garment that looked torn and dirty. "Hello," Marcus said softly. "Can you hear me?" Marcus checked for a pulse but had no idea where to look on an alien body. He touched her neck gently and felt a faint vibration under her crystalline skin, like a hum of energy. She was alive, but barely. Marcus lifted her carefully. She weighed almost nothing, her body thin and fragile. He carried her out of the airlock and through the empty corridors, praying he would not meet anyone. His small quarters were on the lower level, away from the main residential areas. He placed her on his bed and covered her with a blanket. Her eyes moved beneath her closed eyelids. Marcus grabbed his emergency medical kit and found water and nutrition packets. He had no idea if human supplies would help an alien, but doing nothing seemed worse. "Come on," Marcus whispered. "Wake up. You did not survive out there just to give up now." After a few minutes, her eyelids fluttered open. Her eyes were unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. They were large and completely silver, with no visible pupils, reflecting his face like mirrors. She stared at him with confusion and fear. "It is okay," Marcus said slowly. "You are safe. I found you in space. You were hurt. You are safe here." This time, words came out in broken Universal Common, the trading language used across many species. "They left me, my family. They left me to die." Then she started crying, her whole body shaking with sobs that sounded like wind chimes in a storm. Marcus sat beside her, not knowing what to say. He had found a teenage alien girl abandoned in space by her own family. He had broken multiple station regulations by bringing her here. His job, his future, everything was now at risk. But looking at her crying, alone and betrayed, Marcus knew he had made the right choice. "You are not alone anymore," he said quietly. "I promise." When she finally woke, sunlight from the artificial station lighting filled the room. She looked around in confusion before her silver eyes found Marcus. Fear crossed her face, then something else. Recognition, perhaps, or maybe just exhaustion. "How do you feel?" Marcus asked gently. The girl sat up slowly, touching her head. "Weak, thirsty." Her Universal Common was clearer now, though her accent made the words sound like music. Marcus brought her water and a nutrition bar. She sniffed the bar carefully before taking a small bite. Her face wrinkled in distaste, but she ate it anyway. "My name is Marcus," he said, sitting across from her. "What is yours?" "You should not have saved me. I am defective, worthless. I cannot share thoughts like my people do. I am broken." We share everything, our thoughts, our feelings, our knowledge. Without that connection, I am nothing, a stone in a river. I cannot contribute, I cannot belong. We have to use words like we are doing now. Does that make us all broken? Maybe your people are wrong about what makes someone valuable. She needed expensive treatment. I borrowed money from many places to help her. She died anyway, and now I owe more money than I can ever repay. Every day is a struggle. Every day I think about giving up. But then I think, what if someone had given up on Sarah? What if the doctors had decided she was not worth saving? I would have lost her even sooner. When I saw you in that pod, dying alone in space, I could not just leave you. Nobody deserves that. He went to work during his shifts, bringing back extra food. Zila stayed hidden in his quarters, slowly growing stronger. She was curious about everything human. She studied his books, watched his information screens, and asked endless questions about Earth and human culture. Marcus learned about Valorian society too. Zila explained how her people lived in constant mental connection, sharing thoughts and emotions across vast distances. Children who could not join this collective were seen as less than complete. Some families kept such children hidden in shame. Others, like Zila's siblings, chose more permanent solutions. "My older brother Torvin convinced my sister Myra that I was a burden," Zila explained one evening. "They told my parents I had gone to study at a distant colony. Then they put me in that pod and launched me into space. They said it was mercy, that I would fall asleep and feel no pain. My siblings did nothing illegal in our society." Zila's voice was bitter. "I am just garbage they threw away." Amara Okonkwo, a xenobiologist who worked in the station's medical wing. They had become friends after Sarah's death, bonding over late-night conversations about loss and loneliness. When Amara arrived at Marcus's quarters, she froze at the sight of Zila. "Marcus, what have you done?" "But Marcus, this is incredibly dangerous, if anyone finds out." Zila answered questions about Valorian biology, her voice growing more confident as Amara treated her with respect and genuine interest. Finally, Amara sat back, her eyes wide with excitement. "Marcus, Zila is not defective. Her brain works differently than other Valorians, yes, but she has incredible gifts they never recognized." but your brain processes patterns and connections in ways I have never seen. You can analyze complex systems, predict outcomes, see relationships between things that others miss. It is like you have a different kind of intelligence, one your people never thought to look for. But everyone said I was just trying to compensate for my defect. You really think I have value. Now we just need to figure out how to keep you safe and let you show the galaxy what you can do. Thank you for not giving up on me. They had no idea that their abandoned sister was about to become something they never imagined. She was about to become free. Zila's recovery was faster than anyone expected. Within a week, she could move around Marcus's quarters without exhaustion. Her crystalline skin regained its natural glow, shifting between pale blue and silver depending on her mood. Marcus noticed she turned darker blue when she was sad and almost white when she was happy or excited. One morning, Marcus was preparing for his shift when Zila approached him nervously. "Can I come with you today? I want to help. I feel useless staying here all day. You have given me so much. Let me give something back. But you stay out of sight. If I say hide, you hide immediately. Understood?" She tied her floating white hair back and pulled the cap low over her face. The uniform covered most of her crystalline skin. They traveled through the less-used corridors to the maintenance sector. Marcus's assignment that day was to inspect the lower engineering decks, areas where few people went. Zila followed him quietly, watching everything with intense focus. As Marcus checked pressure valves and temperature readings, Zila studied the pipes and machinery around them. She ran her fingers along a large coolant pipe, her expression thoughtful. "Marcus," she said suddenly, "this pipe has a crack." "Right here." Zila traced a path along the metal surface. "The temperature pattern is wrong. The metal is stressed. It will fail soon, maybe in a few days." Then he adjusted the settings to maximum sensitivity. A hairline fracture appeared on the display, so small it would not have been noticed in a normal inspection. "How did you see that?" Marcus asked in amazement. Zila looked confused by his surprise. "I just noticed the pattern. The way the condensation forms, the slight color change in the metal, the vibration frequency. It all indicates weakness. You saw it with just your eyes and touch. A structural support that had developed metal fatigue. Things that would have caused serious problems if not discovered early. Marcus's work efficiency improved dramatically. His supervisor, Commander Williams, noticed during the weekly review meeting. "Chen, your sector is performing better than it has in years. Early problem detection is up 40%. What changed?" The commander was a tall man with gray hair and a reputation for seeing through lies. "Being thorough is good. Keep it up." "We cannot hide this forever," Amara said seriously. "Eventually, someone will notice. And Marcus, there is something else you need to know. A Valorian diplomatic vessel arrived at the station today. They are here for a trade negotiation. And they have no reason to scan the maintenance levels. But Zila, you need to be extra careful." He thought about contacting the authorities, but what would happen to Zila? Would they send her back to her people? Would her siblings face justice, or would Valorian law protect them? 3 days later, disaster nearly struck. Marcus was inspecting a coolant junction when alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. "Attention, all personnel," the station's automated voice announced. "Critical coolant leak detected in Section 7. Emergency protocols activated. All personnel evacuate the area immediately." People would die. He ran towards Section 7, ignoring the evacuation orders. Other maintenance workers were fleeing the area. Marcus reached the main coolant control room and found it empty. The screens showed pressure building rapidly. The automatic shutdown systems had failed. Marcus stared at the complex controls, trying to remember his emergency training. There were too many valves, too many systems. He did not know which ones to close first. If he made a mistake, he could make things worse. Marcus, move aside. The Valorians. They worked together, Zila seeing patterns in the chaotic system that Marcus could not understand. She redirected pressure, isolated damaged sections, and rerouted coolant flow through backup systems. 5 minutes later, the alarm stopped. The pressure reading stabilized. The crisis was over. Marcus and Zila stood in the sudden silence, breathing hard. Then footsteps echoed in the corridor. Commander Williams entered the room, accompanied by 2 security officers. The commander looked at Marcus, then at Zila. His eyes widened slightly as he took in her crystalline skin and silver eyes. "I think you two better come with me. We need to talk. Whatever happens, we face it together. And someone better explain to me exactly what is going on." "Start talking," Williams said, his voice calm but firm. "And I want the complete truth." He left nothing out, accepting full responsibility for breaking regulations. Commander Williams listened without interrupting. His face showed no emotion. When Marcus finished, the commander turned to Zila. "Is all of this true?" he asked. Zila nodded, her skin dark blue with fear. "Yes, sir. My siblings put me in that pod and sent me into space. They believed I was defective because I cannot join the telepathic collective. In Valorian society, I have no value. That coolant failure would have created a disaster. Our best engineers were still trying to understand the problem when you fixed it. It was obvious to me." She thought differently, learned differently. The schools said she was too difficult, too unusual. They wanted to send her to special institutions, places that would change her to fit their idea of normal. My wife and I fought to keep her in regular schools. We failed. The pressure was too much. My daughter took her own life when she was 16. She left a note saying she was tired of being broken, tired of being a burden. I am sorry. When I look at you, Zila, I see what my daughter could have become if someone had recognized her gifts, instead of focusing on how she was different. You should be fired and possibly arrested, but you also saved a life, and that life just saved hundreds of people on this station. Abandoning sentient children to die in space violates multiple interstellar treaties. The Valorians will not like it, but they need to answer for this. Their family law is absolute. I am property of my bloodline. They will take me back and my siblings will finish what they started. Okonkwo has been sending me reports about your abilities. She believes you are extraordinary. They could make life difficult for you and the station. Maybe Zila can." He formally requested a hearing on Valorian treatment of non-telepathic children. The response was immediate. The Galactic Council agreed to investigate, but they also informed the Valorian diplomatic vessel currently docked at the station. That evening, 3 Valorian officials arrived at Commander Williams's office. They were tall and elegant, their crystalline skin glowing with shifting patterns. Their silver eyes held no warmth. The lead diplomat, Ambassador Kelvin, spoke in perfect universal common. "We understand you are harboring a Valorian citizen without authorization. This is a serious diplomatic incident. That is a serious criminal incident. What her family chose to do is their right under our legal system. We demand the return of our citizen immediately." Legal experts debated jurisdiction and treaty interpretation. Marcus stayed with Zila, who grew more frightened as Valorian officials demanded her return. On the 4th day, Amara suggested something bold. "Zila, what if you recorded your story, not just facts but feelings? Let the council representatives see you as a person, not a legal problem." She told her story in her own words. The loneliness of being unable to connect with her people, the shame her parents showed, the cruelty of her siblings who decided she would be better off dead, the terror of waking in a pod, drifting in space, knowing her own family had thrown her away. "I thought I was worthless," Zila said, tears streaming down her face like liquid crystal. Everyone told me I was broken. But Marcus and Amara and Commander Williams, they saw something different. They saw someone worth saving. They saw gifts I never knew I had. And I deserve to live. Other species spoke about their own members who thought differently, who had gifts that society initially rejected. Most surprisingly, messages came from Valorians themselves. Parents who had hidden non-telepathic children in shame, afraid to let their society know. Young Valorians who had struggled with weak telepathy and felt like failures. They watched Zila's testimony and found courage to speak their own truths. Ambassador Kelvin arrived at Williams's office the next morning. His expression was troubled. The council has ruled. Zila is granted refugee status. She may remain on the station under human protection. Her siblings, Torven and Myra, are being charged with attempted murder under revised interpretation of abandonment law. Our society will need to face difficult questions about how we treat those who are different. "You are free," Marcus said softly. Zila turned to him, smiling. "We are free, all of us. You from your fear of failing, me from my shame, and maybe, somewhere out there, other children like me from believing they are worthless. What will you do now?" Marcus stood in the observation deck, watching ships arrive and depart against the backdrop of stars. Beside him stood Zila, now wearing the uniform of a junior engineering trainee. "Another ship from Valoria," Zila observed, pointing to a vessel approaching the docking bay. "That makes 5 this week." Others wanted to understand how society could change to accept differences rather than eliminate them. "Nervous about meeting them?" Marcus asked. Zila's skin shifted to a thoughtful pale blue. "A little, but also excited. For so long I believed I was the only one. Now I know there are others like me. In fact, they are giving you a commendation for humanitarian service. And you, young lady, your official training begins next week. The engineering department is excited to have you." And Marcus's refusal to follow bad regulations. He walked away, leaving them alone again. The observation deck door opened, and Dr. Amara Okonkwo entered with a young Valorian boy. He looked about 12, with the same crystalline skin as Zila but darker purple patterns. He clung to Amara's hand nervously. "Zila, Marcus, this is Davin," Amara introduced. "He arrived this morning with his parents. They saw your testimony and decided to seek asylum here rather than let Davin suffer the same fate you did." "What is your gift, Davin?" "And it is beautiful. Here, people will help you understand your gift, not hide it. Your courage gave us courage." Zila became their guide and inspiration, showing them that being different was not being broken. Marcus's life had changed dramatically too. The commendation came with a promotion and a significant bonus. For the first time in 3 years, his debts were paid. The weight that had pressed on his shoulders for so long finally lifted. But the biggest change was Zila herself. Through the legal process, Marcus had been granted guardianship. She was officially his family now, the daughter he and Sarah had never been able to have. One evening, they sat together in Marcus's quarters, which now held 2 beds and twice as much clutter. Zila was studying engineering manuals while Marcus prepared dinner. "Marcus," Zila said suddenly, "may I ask you something personal?" Sarah always believed people should be judged by their kindness, not by how well they fit into boxes. She would have loved you immediately. "I wish I could have met her." Marcus checked his communicator and smiled. "Commander Williams wants us in his office. He says he has news." "Marcus Chen, Zila of Valoria," the official began. "The council has reviewed the widespread impact of your case. We are creating a new initiative called the Different Gifts Program, designed to protect and support individuals whose abilities do not match their society's narrow definitions of normal. Zila, you are being named as the program's youth ambassador. Your role will be to speak at council sessions, help write new protection laws, and serve as a voice for those who have been silenced. But I am just. That makes you exactly who we need. We need someone to coordinate refugee support services for the program. Someone who understands what it means to help others even when the rules say not to. The Different Gifts program grew beyond anyone's expectations. Dozens of species came forward with stories of members who had been rejected for being different. The galaxy began having difficult conversations about diversity, ability, and worth. Zila became a powerful speaker at council sessions. Her testimony helped change laws across multiple civilizations. Young people from countless worlds looked to her as proof that different did not mean lesser. Marcus found purpose in his new work, helping families navigate the complex process of seeking refuge and support. He thought often of Sarah and felt that somehow, she knew he was doing good work. One evening, 2 years after that fateful day when Marcus found a dying girl in a pod, he and Zila returned to the observation deck. It had become their special place, where they went to think and talk. A new wave of ships approached the station, families seeking help, children seeking acceptance. Zila watched them with contentment. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "Everything you went through." Her skin shifted through multiple colors before settling on bright white. The pain was real. The betrayal hurt. But if none of it had happened, I would still be on Valoria, believing I was worthless. I would not have found you. I would not have discovered my purpose. Sarah would be too. Another family seeking hope. Another child who needed to hear that being different was not being broken. Marcus and Zila stood together, watching the endless arrival of those who needed help. They had started as two struggling souls, one human drowning in debt and grief, one alien rejected by her own people. Now they were family. Now they were change-makers. Now they were proof that sometimes the most broken-seeming things, when given love and acceptance, shine brighter than anyone imagined possible. Zila's crystalline skin glowed with pure joy, reflecting the light of distant stars. She was no longer the girl left to die in space. She was Zila, valued member of Galactic Society, beloved daughter and voice for the voiceless. And she was finally, truly home.